All right, let's do this. Okay, block distractions. You know why? Because it robs our joy. Yes. So I'm a neuroimmunologist, brain doctor. We got to take a deep breath and put our brain in solution mode and then just build a fortress against everyone trying to steal our attention. So, who's trying to steal our attention? Rob us of our focus. Uh, Tons of people, right? So who, so we have, if you're a working person, there's people at work. One time I counted and I had 12 channels to me, let's say emails, multiple phones, pagers, etc. So maybe you want to stop for a minute and think, how many channels do people have to come disturb you? So a literal door, a window. Do people, just your neighbors, come over? Do people come into your house and disturb you when you're at work? Are people knocking on your door? Do you have an open door policy where people could come anytime, or is that more scheduled? Um, are you in charge of your schedule or someone else making your schedule? So there's a lot of ways that we can first just get some insights, like who is taking our attention? How often are you on your phone? Check your screen time. I recently put mine in grayscale. So that's where you go to accessibility, and then you go, what's the next step? Accessibility, and then color. Ooh, there's something in between, and then color filter, and you turn that off. You could put in the comments if you want some help. I'm glad to help you with that. But anyway, that cut out some time on my phone, like sometimes an hour or less on my phone, because it's just boring. It's just flat. Like it's not very colorful. It's just gray, mostly gray. And you can see some outlines. So that's one thing we can do, is we can purposefully block things out or work with our brain. So we know that our brain, loves those colors and those gifts and the surprise that can come on the phone. And so we have to make sure we're, putting up some, like a fortress, to protect our attention and our focus. Why does it matter? Because it's all we have, right? It's all that we have for our days, is our attention and our focus. And if you have something important to you and you want to get it done, or you want to help something in your community, or you want to take action, but yet you're stuck on your phone on Instagram reels, like I have been on craft Instagram reels for like an hour, and I didn't even know what happened. So, like, excuse me, this can happen to anyone, including me, you, all, everybody. Why? Because they study the brain, they study neuroscience when they make, channels. I'm sure YouTube does as well. There's something called neuromarketing, where they study, how your eyes respond to various images, how long you stay on a certain image, how you feel, what your heart rate does when you look at something. So they actually read your cues, your nervous system cues, whether you're engaged or you're not engaged with their marketing. So there's high level stuff folks are doing to try to make sure they're grabbing our attention. So we need to fight back, and just make sure that we can put in our days what's important. Okay, so one thing to know is that we all have, and so where do we start? When we're talking about focusing our attention, number one, I think as a neuroimmunologist, that's what I am, and a mom of four. So I value time, and I value planning, and I value science, um, and I value research, and I value efficiency, and I value um, what else? Oh, so many things. Innovation, connections. So you can put in the chat what you value. But so when we're thinking about, like, where would we start if we wanted to block all these folks who are trying to rob our attention, because distraction causes unhappiness, is what the happiness researchers tell us. So if we don't want to fall into that trap of having our attention trapped and our joy trapped by just all this stuff coming at us, we have to fight back, and we have to be intentional and make a plan. And it's really easy to just, like, in the morning say, well, this is what I'm going to get done today. But then the day starts, and then there's all these people coming at you at work and home and on the road. So let's set up a plan, so we know that we have a fortress against people who are trying to grab our attention, that we don't want them to take it, right? So if you want to put in, like, the worst time of day, like when are people mostly grabbing your attention or trying to steal it, rob it, go ahead and put that in the chat too. But we'll start. So, if I had to say there were 5 things where to put our focus, I'll get my little notes here. But I would say number one, understand some of the neuroscience so that you can work with it. So you don't have to try to fight it. You just understand how it works and how to, like the grayscale on the phone. That's just one tool that you can use because dopamine loves those colorful things on the phone and is just so attracted to it. It's sometimes hard to break it. So we can learn to work with our brain by understanding our own brain's, focus right now. So we tend to focus on our values, on our mission, on our purpose. What are our values? What's important to us? Like I said to you. So I know that innovation and science and community and joy are all my values. And I don't like when things don't do those things, when the mission is opposite of that. It's just not something I want to be around and be a part of. So we have to understand in the brain language, it's called connectome. And a connectome is how the brain connects. So if you think of a million like phone chargers, like a phone and the wire, our brain has actually billions of these. So if this is the nerve body in the brain, and then it sends down a tail down through the brain, different areas, it crosses, etc. So there's a cool study by the first author is Dr. Mansour. It's in a journal called Neuroimage, and it's talking about scientists and researchers of different backgrounds that looked at 40,000 brain MRIs. So they did certain kind of MRIs, like pictures of the brain in 40,000 people over, I think it was England, because it's from a biobank in the UK. So it's in the UK. And they did different kind of MRI pictures. So they did something called diffusion MRI and structural connectivity. Like, how are the different parts of the brain connected in these folks in 40,000 people, and compared them and even assessed what we call the resting state function. So when the brain, let's say you're waiting for someone to come over or something, and you're not on your phone and you're just kind of looking out the window. You're not asleep. You're kind of daydreaming, but you don't have any purposeful activity. That part of the brain is an important one because it lets kind of different areas connect and file information from the day. So it's good to put your brain kind of in that relaxation, daydreaming mode periodically. I know not a lot of us do it because if there's ever a quiet moment, usually people are on their phone, right? So what they did in this study with 40,000 brains is they looked at what's called the regional connectivity. So how do the different areas of the brain connect in these folks in these different states? So like, staring out the window, doing nothing, just relaxing, and in different states. What happened? Well, they found 28 different networks. So ways that the brain's, different parts of the brain connected, strong networks and different networks. So it depends on your strengths and your gifts on what your brain is connected to, how it is connected. You might want to think of it like a subway map, the dots and the trains going certain places, and there's nodes. So a lot of nerves come in and go to one place. It's like coming into the train station. All those train tracks come into one train station. Nerves do that. They connect at one point. Sometimes there's kind of a meeting zone, if you want to say. So your gifts come from how your brain is structured, which is super cool. And so they mapped out the structure and the function of these 40,000 brains and compared structure and function of the brain. 40,000. It's amazing. So that's a super cool study. 40,000 brains. And looking at their connectome, it's called, how they're connected, what they're good at. And so, again, we could take a deep breath, think about your gifts, your strengths, things that are easy for you. It is most likely because you have a certain kind of subway, map or certain nodes, and your nerves are in a pattern that make you good at a certain something, probably a long list of a certain something, compared to me. So some people will say, like, what would you do for free? What do your friends come to you for help? What do you love doing that you wouldn't even, if you could get paid for, that'd be great, but you would do it anyway. Usually that it will show, kind of give you an idea of what your connectome is like. Because that's the pattern of your pretty amazing brain, right? So that's pretty cool. So when next time you're doing something and it's easy for you, maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a writer, maybe you're a dancer, maybe you have really fast reflexes, whatever it might be, you're good at listening, you're good at interpreting, you're good at like seeing someone's upset, you're good at perceiving emotions in others, whatever it might be. You have certain gifts that we would, I personally, I'm sure you as well, would like you to share them with the communities, share them with the world, because our world needs support these days, right? We need everyone living fully in their gifts and their strengths. So a lot of this literature is out there, but it's kind of buried in research and manuscripts and very sciencey language. So I like to bring it to you to hopefully make it understandable. So next time you do something, it's easy for you. People ask you for help. You don't mind doing it because you love it. It's so easy. It's just easy. It comes straight forward to you. Think of your connectome, your amazing brain, and just say, thanks, brain. I got this. And so we have to realize our own gifts. Okay. So back to distraction. What does this have to do with distraction? Once we know what we're good at, it helps us to know what to say yes or no to, right? It's very easy to say no. You can say, no, thank you. Thanks for considering me, but I'm not able to do that right now. That's fine. There's many ways to say no. Or, I'd like to take some time to think about that if you really want to think about it. I did hear you should never say yes in a hallway. So if someone's asked you to be on a committee or do something, work on this project, say, oh my gosh, I'm so honored you asked me about that. Let me think about that. Okay. Take some time. Okay. So when we're talking about distractions, first things first, we have to know our values, know our purpose, know our connectome, our gifts, what is easy for our brain so that we know what to say no to. Like, here's where I'm going to put my focus, and you're going to take charge of your focus and let people who want to steal it just like put a wall up there and like, no. Okay. So you got this. So tell me what you're going to say no to. Put it in the chat. I believe in you. All right. Have a great day, guys. See ya.